out of combat isn't really crazy, so I can't ground him. Okay, let me see if I got this straight. In order to be grounded, I've got to be crazy. And I must be crazy to keep flying. But if I ask to be grounded, that means I'm not crazy anymore and I have to keep flying.
You've got it. That's Catch-22.
What's going on, shifters? This is CW Marco here, bringing you the very first book review on the brand new channel on YouTube called Shifting Stories. And I wanted to start the channel with one of my personal favorites, also a piece of American classic literature. This is Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. This is a nice piece of work right here. But I also wanted to show y'all some extra pieces that came with the puzzle. And so not only do we have Catch-22 by Joseph Heller, we also have our obligatory, mandatory pack of Newports that comes with every video. What else do we have? We have a couple more items here. Actually, if you look at the back, we have the main character's liver. Yes, this is an actual shot, a high quality black and white image of the main character's liver that is diseased, but not really. So that's the main character's liver right there. Next up, we have a couple more items. We have a couple of letters here, actually. Ooh, very special. We have a letter from Washington Irving. And this one is addressed to the McWatt family, who are located in West Smyrna, West Virginia. Very interesting. Okay. We also have another letter here. This one is from Irving, Washington. And this one is addressed to the Sampson family in Nutnugget, North Dakota. Yeah, it's a good place. Y'all should visit it sometimes. So, that's what we're working with here today on Shifting Stories. And just really quick, I want to hit y'all with a sponsor by me, myself, and I. This is unpaid. This is all me right here. This is Harmony and Chaos. This is my very first novel that you can peep. And you can find this bad boy on Barnes and Noble or Amazon. Very cool stuff right here. This is a piece of absurdist fiction, dark humor, dark stuff, violence, and all that fun stuff. So why don't we get started here on Shifting Stories? I want to break this video down into several elements, 3 elements to be specific. I want to break it down into, oh yeah, open air experience. I want to break this video down into 3 parts. One part, which I think will be nice and quick, will be the overview of Catch-22. The second part is going to be a summary of the novel. And the third part is I want to bring a philosophical element into kind of what the story means, why it's important. And so the third piece, and actually the third piece in every video, will be that philosophical element that's added onto the review. So let's get started, shall we? So the funny thing about reviewing something that's older and already considered a classic is, well, there's really nothing more that you can add to it. It's, for example, if I go to the bookstore and, you know, I rent a copy of Moby Dick, and all of a sudden I'm gonna put my 2 cents to Moby Dick. It's like, okay, so I'm reading it, and I come to the conclusion that Moby Dick, there's too much dick and not enough Moby, therefore I give it a half-star review. Thus concluding my review of Moby Dick. And so reviewing Catch-22 kind of has that same redundancy where everything is kind of said and done about the book already. But for the sake of absurdity, we shall review the book anyways. And so here we go, quick overview. Catch-22 is a military novel. It's also a black humor, dark humor. It is based in World War II, the peak of World War II, and it takes place on a base, on an Air Force base, a fictional Air Force base on the island of Pianosa in the Mediterranean Sea near Italy. Well, it's kind of an Italian territory. It's part of Italy, so that's the setting. And we're dealing with a bunch of characters in Catch-22. And all of these characters, they are all actors, Allied American actors in World War II. So we're dealing with several different squadrons. These are B-25 bomb squads. And so what's actually interesting, the author, Joseph Heller, he himself was a veteran in World War II, and he actually flew 60 missions as a lead bombardier during World War II. So he flew these B-25s, and it's kind of interesting because he's kind of taking his war experience and using a lot of that to kind of bring that authenticity to his writing and to Catch-22. And so a cool comparison also, Kurt Vonnegut, he himself was also a war veteran, and he brought a lot of his experience during the war into another classic, which is Slaughterhouse-5. And so that's a really cool comparison. And so back to the overview, we are dealing with several squadrons, several bomb squads. And there's a lot of different characters. But the main character that we focus on now, kind of going into the summary overall, we focus on Captain Yossarian. Captain Yossarian is the only person that seems to have a problem with everything they're doing in the war. Everyone else is cool, everyone is chilling, everyone is doing their thing, everyone knows their responsibilities, except for Yossarian. So the thing with Yossarian is he is either the craziest person or the most sane person in the whole book. And there's a very important chapter, which is chapter 4, which first brings up Catch-22. And so chapter 4 is a conversation between Yossarian and another character, Doc Daneeka. Doc Daneeka is the shady kind of doctor that was recruited during the war. And Yossarian is trying to get out of, the war. He's trying to find a reason, he's trying to find an out, he's trying to find an excuse to no longer have to fly any more missions and to just get out of this altogether. And so he's asking Dr. Daneeka to be like, hey, put in a request for me to the colonel, which is Colonel Cathcart, which is the leader of the squadron. Put in a request for me, tell him that, hey, I'm crazy, I can't fly any more planes, I can't fly any more missions. Dr. Daneeka tells Yossarian, no, sir, that's not gonna happen because you're gonna run into a problem, and the problem is Catch-22. And so Dr. Daneeka continues to explain that Catch-22 is the issue that arises when, for example, you try to plead for insanity in order to get out of your responsibilities. So you plead the case that you are crazy, you are insane, and you cannot, as a rational person, continue doing this mission or doing this activity because you are, in fact, insane. The problem is, and this is where the catch comes in, the problem is the process of you trying to explain that you are crazy or insane proves that you're actually sane and normal. And so the catch is, and so by proving insanity, you also prove that you're sane, because a crazy person would not have like the correct mind or the correct process to rationalize their sanity. And so you're stuck in a catch. And so that's how Catch-22 works. And so we kind of go throughout the whole story rooting for Yossarian and hoping that he can somehow manage to go AWOL or like escape all of these missions that this guy Colonel Cathcart is forcing all of these squads to do. And so it's kind of like this ironic adventure that Heller takes us through, and it's very non-linear, and there really isn't a plot. And if you're into like non-linear, more like character-driven, very episodic chapters or types of narratives, this book is definitely for you. And so that's kind of the summary of Catch-22. There is a big point now going into the philosophy of Catch-22 that I want to bring up. And it's, what does it mean to be a patriot in the year 2024? And I think this is an interesting discussion because the novel itself, Catch-22, Heller designed it to be an anti-war novel. And so it's interesting that, you know, someone that experienced war would write an anti-war novel. And it kind of begs the question, and there's a lot of themes and several chapters throughout Catch-22 that kind of touch on this idea of patriotism. And so, if World War III were to break out, who are the ones that are going to be willing to give up their lives, give up everything they're doing right now, give up their social media, give up their favorite lattes and favorite mochas and favorite drinks and favorite food, and go to war and be willing to die for their country right now in 2024? Who is ready to die for the idea of America? Who is ready to die for an ideal? Let me know in the comments. Man, think about that. Imagine laying down your life for an idea. And is America a big enough idea to lay down your life for in 2024? Because I'll tell you one thing, 2,000-3,000 years ago, going back to the good old days, 3,000 years ago, we're talking about the ancient civilizations, like the ancient Romans and the ancient Greeks before that. And even going up to like the Northern European, like the Nordic region, and the whole like Norse mythology. Dude, dying on the battlefield, are you kidding me? That was the meaning of life. That was everything. Dying on the battlefield was like, I mean, you couldn't get no better than that, you know? Dying for the idea of your country or your state or your nation, that was the meaning of life. That was your ticket into Valhalla. That was your ticket into the afterlife. So, is that still true 3,000 years later in 2024? Are you still willing to give your life for an ideal? I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. And you know, I think I'll end the video here on that idea of patriotism. And yeah, man, it's really interesting to think about, right? And so I'll conclude the video here. This has been the first episode of Shifting Stories, going 50 miles per hour in 6th gear. And this is what we'll do. We will catch y'all next time. Woo. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Whoop. Downshift. Okay, okay. Turning, turning, turning. Oh, there goes my props.